this class you will get an idea of what is XML. So okay, now I will start XML and web services. So aim of this class, with practical knowledge and concept, you can crack the theory as well as practical lab by your own. This is the aim of this class. So what we are going to learn in this entire class, first one is XML introduction and how to work with it. Then XML role and concept up to lab exercise 4. So up to our lab exercise 4 we use mainly the XML, not the web services. So in exercise 5 only we actually implement the web services in our software. So after finishing the second concept we will enter into the web service introduction, then web service architecture, web service implementation. Actually web service implementation starts with the lab exercise after 5, which means our fifth lab exercise. So you think of that web service architecture is really needed? Yes, it is the very important concept in web service. If you know the web service architecture, then only we can survive in the web service. Okay, then for now you don't worry about web services. First, we in this class we will know why we use this XML concept in web services. Okay, now I will start the XML introduction. So XML means extensible markup language. Markup means nothing but this tag. This, yeah, we write the code like using this tag. This tag is called markup. So since we use markup, this is called XML extensible markup language. Like HTML, its extension is hypertext markup language. So in HTML also we use this markup. That's why we say the language as hypertext markup language. In HTML we use the defined tags. Those tags were already defined by the language compiler, but whereas in XML there is no defined markups. So this is extensible markup, which means we can extend this markup as much as we can. That's why we call it as extensible markup language. Then how to create an XML file manually. So this is the first and foremost thing we have to learn about XML. So if we know how to create an XML file, any problem with XML file we can adjust manually at the time of error during the runtime. So it is one of the main concept in XML. So let us discuss how to create an XML file. So I think all of you know about database concept, right? In database, we have a database. Inside that, we have a table. Inside the table, we have several columns and rows. So the same is like in XML also. In database, we use it for the storage purpose. The same is we actually use it in XML, but XML is quite more advantage than the database. So first discuss about the parts of the XML. Okay, we learn the XML by comparison with the database. So I take the database above and the XML below. So please take the notes which will help in near future. In database, first thing we will create a database called. So consider the structure is a database. This horizontal cylinders like structure is a database and its name is department DB. Then in XML we create an root element. So both database and XML is similar. So in database we actually create a database. In XML we actually create a root element. So this root element represents the database name in that like SQL database. So in database, after created the database, what we will do, we will create a table. So I create a table called student. So in database I created the table. So in XML I will create the parent. So it's similar to the database, like a table I create a parent in root. So in database we call it as a database, in XML we call it as a root element, in database we call it as a table, in XML we call it as a parent. So the third step in database is, with columns and rows we will fill the content of the table. So IDs, name, so these are the columns here. So in XML also we create the same, like, so these are the children's. So in database we actually mention those as columns and rows, but whereas in XML we will mention it as a children's. So here you can see that the database is department DB, here the root element is department DB, here the table name is student, here the parent name is student. So this attribute, you don't have to confuse this, it's just it's like uh, one of those columns that we used in database. So then after created the table in database as well as the XML in parent in XML, we have to create the columns. So each child is a column. Each child is a column. So name, phone number, everything is here is a column. So here the children's is a represents the columns. So in this table, if you want to add another row, what will you do? You will extend this and create another row, but whereas in XML you have to repeat this once again, that's it. So if you repeat this parent, it means you will, sorry, I don't have to repeat the parent itself, but you have to repeat the children inside the children's. So yeah. So if you want to add another table in XML, you have to create another parent here. So likewise, we create the table in the database. So creating in the structure of XML is uh, nearly equal to the database. That's why I take here the comparison. I think you will get an idea about the structure of the XML. It is nothing but first we have to create an root element name tag, then we will create a parent. Inside the parent we have children's. So between two tags we will have the values. So that's it about the XML structure. Then, so why we need XML? So this is when you study any concept in software or any field, why is the most important question than any other question. So why we have to learn, so why we need XML? So consider two website one is in blue color and website 2 is in yellow color. So how will you send the data from one page to another? So like the traditional method, we can use the TCP. You know, can actually connect the two website, the server client concept. We can send the message as a three message in via the TCP port or any other form of transport. We can send a message. So website here in this scenario, website one send the data called 3000 to website 2. Okay, so in TCP port, so the receiver will confuse whether it is a salary, year, age, liter, pin number, and whose, why, etc. etc. So the website will totally confuse why this 3000, whether it is a salary or year, and for from where this 3000 came. So there is a lot of confusion in website 2 about this data transmission. But whereas in XML, if we transmit this data as an XML file, we 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 will came to know about this 3000 is a salary of whose Gunabalan. So Guna's salary is 3000, and who is Guna is an employee with his ID 1045, and he is an employee as an analyst. So with this 3000 as this XML format, we can get the other details about this data, and we can form a structure when another if 4000 comes, we will came to know that it is another person's salary. Like that we can create an organized data which will be used to compute the process. But whereas in simply we will send the data, we can't organize those data. So that's why we actually use the XML as a data storage. We actually store the data in XML, and we will share among websites and or any other programs. We can actually use XML as a configuration files, which is an advanced concept in software development. After I think when we finish with web services, I will teach that web configuration, sorry, software configuration with XML also. So this is the main actual thing why we need XML uh, in in this world like that. So and XML is an universal language, which means any language can be used to manipulate the data in it. So we can use XML in any language. In C also we can get the data from XML in JavaScript, PHP, Python. In any language we can get the data in XML in an organized manner, and we can update, insert, delete the element in XML as a organized manner. So that's why XML is called as a universal language. Then so that's why we use XML in web services. So you might have think that what is web services. In upcoming class we will discuss about web services.